Welcome to part 3 of the 4-part making a 3-piece mold set. So many numbers. So first I'm just going to take this mold apart from my second piece. And the first thing I want to do is go back and just kind of clean up all of my edges. Again, that just makes everything a little bit nicer and a little bit less likely to chip or break or make it more of a mess, or any of the things. I just like making things nice. And now we can take off the clay. So we just need to make our last piece of our mold. So I'll clean off, let's see how our mold did. Looks good. I don't have any air bubbles in inappropriate locations. Now right here, at this point, I can go in and kind of muck around with the surface of the mold, because this is the last piece that I'm going to be casting. So if there's anything any like lumps or bumps that I didn't like from the last piece, I can go back and kind of clean that up and make sure that my forms come out the way that I want to, and that the mold line is exactly where I want it to, because it does not hurt to put in a little extra love to any of these pieces. The more time that you spend on perfecting your mold, the better every piece coming out of your mold will be. Now it is important that I don't go too far down, so I do have to be careful not to get overzealous about my excitement for taking and leveling out the surface. If I go too far down, I can't add the plaster back, and if I go below my mold line, I will create an undercut in my last piece that I make. Okay, time to put the keys in. Again, I want low, wide, kind of smooth keys. Nothing that's going to create any heavy angle or any like kind of sharp corner. All just a nice little like smooth lump that the mold, the next piece, can pour into. It's also important in this process that you try really hard not to actually remove your piece, the form that you're casting, from the mold. The more you can just keep that in place and leave it alone, the better your mold is going to be. Because once you take it out of the mold, it never quite goes back in the same way. Okay, now we want to clean everything off. Especially right on the edges and the corners. Don't let your mold line be dirty. Okay, now I'm going to put my mold release on there. I like to use the Murphy's Oil soap. And I'll put it on, let it kind of absorb in, and then go back and buff it down. And I'll generally try to do that a couple of times before I totally finish anything. I also want to make sure that I don't leave any pools of it anywhere. So I'll use my brush to go around the edges to make sure that I don't have any of the mold soap kind of pooling up right along the edge, right along my mold line. You'll know that you have enough mold release on there is if the surface of your mold feels slick and smooth. Okay, so now we'll put our boards back on. And remember, we're going to keep the board, so it's that corner piece. If we look at the coddle boards as like an L shape, that corner L always will hit the corner of the mold. And we'll try to keep that as square as possible. Now, if you did a good job on the last piece and did a pretty nice job keeping things square, then it shouldn't be too hard to get your mold form wrapped around this without too much of a gap or anything along those lines. Again, double checking that those edges. I can't emphasize that enough. I think being a little bit preeny and kind of like OCD about this particular part of the process is really helpful. Now because I did get a good seal on there, I didn't actually go back and put any coils down. But if my seal was not good, I would have had to go back and put little coils all the way around that whole area. But instead, we're looking good. I can just go back, make sure that I stir everything up really well. I try to make sure that I don't get any, I try to bring the air bubbles to the top. Okay, that's part 3 of the 4-part series. See you on the last bit.